etc. That is changing. Today the world has changed. People don't have time for a 40-45 day holiday till they have time. India is a 20-day destination. People take what are called micro trips, 3 to 4 to 5 trips in a year, shorter duration, shorter lead time, etc. That is only going to originate from your region as far as that is concerned. Arjun, when I assume I'm sitting in Thailand, I'm a citizen of that country, I suddenly realize that there's a weekend that I haven't gone on. The first thing I would do, I would go into a comparison and see what are the countries around me that I could go to. Accessibility, fantastic. India, Thailand, Bangkok, you can get just as many flights as you like. Hotel rooms, I think we offer the best value for money as much as Thailand, much as people agree, disagree. I've got lots of data to prove that. Right? I think the one thing, and the government has, the Ministry of Tourism, I can say, has worked very, very closely with us. We are halfway there, and I'm very sure we'll get halfway there, is the element of taxes that people off. If we are to take and say Southeast Asia is the place where our source markets are going to come, the average level of taxation in Southeast Asia is 4.8%. Versus, even if I was to say the reduced level of GST, which has now come on the actual tariff and not on the rag rate, etc., it would average at about 19%. So you're talking of 6% versus 19%. I think that's really where the problem. Everything else, I think we are perfect. Our visas on arrival, I would again prove that yes, there could be a bit of disruption at the time of entry, but it's far better than what we were. It's grown 3 times in the last 2 to 3 years, etc. Our airports, I experienced it. I was pointing out to Arjun yesterday that no other airport in the world does your baggage come as fast as it comes in any Indian airport. Right? You could wait at Heathrow for 2 hours, your baggage won't come in. So we can sit and criticize ourselves here, but I think we've got to take into account what are our positives. So I think we've got all of it going. Point number 1, what we've got to do is market ourselves. You rightly said, Tourism Kerala, about marketing, we've got to market India in this very destination and give products tailored to them. Right? Number 2, focus our advertising spends 80-85% in them, in their vernacular languages, in their papers, etc. Generate tourism to them. And third, create within us as an industry products that are tailored to them, their food. I mean, we heard about Chinese floors being created 20 years back by American hotels, right, where there were Chinese-speaking people. It's a fact today that China has more Hindi training schools than India has Chinese training schools, etc. So that's how ahead they are of us. Again, we have the products, we have the capacity. I think we've got to create the products, we've got to market ourselves there, and we've got to bring everything else, including taxes, into the country.
Thank you. Ma'am, your government has achieved in the last 4 years has been hugely commendable. I think nothing takes away from the effort, both at the policy level, both at the implementation level. But truly, there are lots and lots of bottlenecks that my colleagues and fellow industry people face here. What do you feel, ma'am, on some of the points that we've raised today? For example, on the National Tourism Board. Do you think that is something that we can see? I think Najib gave an example of the Niti Aayog. There could be other examples. The KTM is a great example of our own industry where it's been led by the private sector. And of course, it's very commendable that we will have our own National Tourism March this month. And I think it's going to be a great success and a great start. But where do you feel are some of the, you've now looked back at the industry, you've seen what you've achieved, what the ministry has achieved. What do you feel are going to be needed to take this industry from 10 to 20?
Thank you very much. I would say that after hearing all my fellow panelists, I think we can all agree to the point that 20 million is achievable. There is no quarrel on that. We all feel that a certain kind of strategy has to be adopted to reach that target. But certainly it is achievable given the fact that India is such a vast country, such a huge variety of tourism destinations we have, and also some of the initiatives which have been taken in the past few years by both the industry and the government and the state governments. Now coming to the critical question as to how do we get there. So if we have to get 20 million, the big question is what should be the model? From where to get this additional 10 million? and where to take them and where to take these additional 10 million. Do we take them to the traditional tourist destinations or do we look at new tourist destinations? As regards how, I think the biggest challenge which we have been facing so far is also about the lack of infrastructure in some of our key tourist destinations, the perception of the tourists coming about the safety and security of our tourist destinations, the cleanliness of our tourist destinations, and also the availability of the skilled manpower and other issues like connectivity, innovation in tourism products, etc. These are things which are emerging as challenging. The pricing, the competitive pricing is another one which Nakul has spoken about, and it is certainly a challenge which we have been facing vis-a-vis our South Asian neighbors. When we talk of how number of initiatives have been taken by government in terms of creating infrastructure, Nakul has also talked about enough capacity in terms of hotel rooms and accommodation, etc. Connectivity has certainly improved with the Udan 2 schemes. We are getting some of our very, very remote regions also getting connected by air, and road connectivity is also increased many-fold in the past 4 years. The airports, some of our airports, even in tier 2 cities, are world class, so we are not lagging behind as far as this is concerned. So what is it, and from where to get these in additional 10 million? That is what we need to deliberate on. Najib started off by saying that if we had a model of Niti Aayog or tourism, National Tourism Advisory Board, it can take us to that magic number of 20 million. Honestly speaking, I don't think we have a magic band by which this National Tourism Advisory Board will get us those 20 million. Today also we have a number of institutional mechanisms where the industry and the government is coming together and working together, deliberating together and working out a strategy for trying to focus on certain markets and how to get these additional numbers. We have the National Tourism Advisory Council where we meet regularly with the captains of the industry and deliberate on many of the key issues, including what are the niche products we need to promote and where and how. So it's not that the lack of institutional mechanism or the lack of platform to bring together the industry and the government is what is keeping us away from this magical number. It's also, we also have a group of secretaries headed by a cabinet secretary, and I think this interministerial group which we have has been very, very effective in resolving many of the issues raised by the industry. In fact, this time, after a gap of 8 months when we were told by the cabinet secretary to convene this meeting, we had absolutely no issues. It was difficult filling up the agenda numbers, because most of the agenda points which we had raised in the last meeting were resolved in consultation and in collaboration and in convergence with our sister ministries in government. I feel that such mechanisms are very useful because tourism ministry alone cannot get this 20 million, nor can the tourism industry get this 20 million. We need to work in collaboration with our sister ministries like Civil Aviation, Road Transport, Culture Ministry, the issue of ASI monuments. Many such issues are there which we have to take up. Environment Ministry for our CRZ policy, etc. And such collaboration is possible only by a mechanism which is headed by an officer who is heading the government system. So the mechanism which we have of interministerial group headed by cabinet secretary is very, very effective in getting our issues resolved vis-a-vis various ministries. The e-visa issue, for instance, with Home Ministry is something which we raised in this forum and got resolved. Home Ministry came forward and came up with a very, very proactive policy and has has been regularly adding more and more countries to the e-visa regime. Similarly, our inner line permit issue which we had for the Northeast was also resolved through this forum. So this forum is proved to be a very, very effective forum as far as taking and having convergence with our other sister ministries in the government are concerned. Now, taking a cue from the Kerala model, yes, we do need some autonomy, we do need some freedom and a platform where the industry and government can work together for working out a strategy for getting additional numbers. The advisory council has been there, but it has been purely advisory in nature, doesn't have much teeth because there is no financial backing, there is no effective mechanism to take forward those things. At the government level, at the ministry level, all the recommendations which are coming from the council are taken up by us with various ministries and various forums. But at the national level, the strategy has to be a little different. And I feel what is the learning from the Kerala model is that there the tourism is private sector led. And this at the national level, I am afraid, and I have to say this, is not there. At the national level, the tourism growth is not fully industry led. Most of the issues, most of the challenges which we are facing, the industry is not proactive enough to address those issues. They do come to us and we are constantly talking to them. But the kind of collaboration, the kind of initiative which the private sector has taken in Kerala is lacking at the macro level. And perhaps it's not so easy also at the macro level, because when we talk of the national tourism, we are talking of taking all the states together, and each state has a different focus, each state has a different tourism policy. In some places, in some states, it is still a very government-led initiative. The private sector is yet to come. Some of the states, in fact, I would like to say is that they do have a very progressive policy. For instance, Madhya Pradesh has come up with a very progressive tourism policy. Assam has come up with a very progressive tourism policy. But even despite that, the kind of private sector investment which should come into these states is still not there. And that is why we do not see the kind of growth which we thought such progressive policies will bring in these states. To my mind, if we have to grow, if we have to get these numbers, the private sector has to lead. We can only be the facilitators, as the Kerala government has been. The leadership has to come from the industry, and that is something which has to happen all across the country. It's not enough to have it in one state or two states. If we have to get this 20 million, it has to be equitably taken to all our tourist destinations. It cannot be that we focus only on Rajasthan, on Kerala, or a couple of other states which are already doing well. Now, from where to get these additional 10 million, I fully agree with Nakul that we have to get out of this mindset that India is a long-haul destination, and our entire marketing strategy has been revolving around it. In fact, I think about earlier days, about 90% of our marketing budget was going for marketing in our traditional markets like US, Europe, etc. Very, very little focus on our neighboring countries, Southeast Asia, South Asia, or for that matter, the possible new markets like China, Japan, Russia. Lately, we have changed, and we have changed not only the strategy of the markets which we should focus on, but also we have changed into how to reach out to the people there. While we have adopted a three-pronged marketing strategy, that is G2G, engaging more with the governments of these neighboring countries and Southeast Asia and Russia, China, etc., because a lot is dependent on our relationship with the government. In fact, if we have to get the numbers from China, unless there is a good relationship at the political level between China and India, it cannot happen. Last year, when we had a Doklam standoff, all the Chinese tour operators were advised to take off India from their brochures. India did not figure into any of the Chinese tour operators' brochures, If that is the situation, how do we get the numbers from China? It is easy to say that we have to get a pie of the huge growing outbound tourist population from China, But what we need to do is work on those micro details, how to get back into the brochures of the tour operators of China, how to reach out to the Chinese people, and how to engage with the Chinese government. Fortunately for the travel and tourism industry, the things have really looked up at the national level and the political level. Our relations with China have improved, and now through our Indian missions, we are now engaging with the tour operators there so that we are put back in their brochures. We are also offering a number of incentives to them to bring India back into focus, as far as the Chinese outbound tourism is concerned. And one such initiative was taken by our minister recently when we had a road show, which was a huge show. He's just come back just a couple of days back from the Chinese road show, wherein it was again a strategy of B2B meeting combined with engagement with the government officers there, because they play a key role in China, and also reaching out to the consumers directly through our campaigns. Our marketing campaign now also is focusing more on South Asia, Southeast Asia, and China, Russia, Japan, and we are now doing it more through the social media and the electronic media rather than the print media. So this shift has come, and this perceptible shift has come, which has made India now very, very visible. Our messages also change from creating awareness about India as a destination. Now we are talking about India as a must-visit destination, a destination where if you come, you go back as a changed person. And in line with that, the new films which we have got made and launched at through various electronic channels in various languages, in the local language in various countries like Japan, Russia, etc., and also China. That is bringing about a lot of focus. A lot of people are now talking about India as a destination. So I fully agree that we need to focus more on our neighbors, because it is the intra-regional promotion of tourism which will bring us numbers. We can continue with our long haul thing because it brings us a lot of money. But that's a limited thing which we can do. If we have to talk about the numbers, we have to focus on Southeast Asia, South Asia, China, Japan, Russia, etc. West Asia is another destination which is proving to be a good emerging market for us. And how and where? Again, now here I feel that instead of just promoting our traditional tourist destinations like Kerala, Rajasthan, etc., we have to look at new tourism products, because we have to be very, very aware and learn from the experiences of places like Barcelona, etc., that we do not get into the rut of over-tourism. Equitable distribution has to happen. Sustainable tourism is the pillar on which we have to base our tourism promotion, and I think I too and the tour operators present here can play a key role in promoting some of our new emerging destinations and tourism products. Innovation is another thing which we have to look at. More and more people are now looking at experiential tourism. Unless we come up with innovative products which engages them, which gives them new experiences, we lose out on that account also. And I'm glad that states like Andhra Pradesh and many other states are now coming up with a lot of focus on innovative products and a lot of focus on adventure tourism, niche products. Cruise tourism is another area which we are focusing on and has huge potential in the near future. Now, when we talk of sustainable tourism, when we talk of the accommodation also, while we have to increase the hotel rooms in all categories, homestays is another thing which has really become very popular, and I have seen, especially in states like Northeast, which are now emerging as a very hot destination, especially with our neighboring countries like Southeast Asia, etc. Homestays are hugely popular, and it also means involvement of the local community. Again, I fully agree with Rani that unless we involve the local community in and they become an equal stakeholder in tourism promotion, unless the benefits of tourism percolates down to the local community, we cannot have the kind of growth which we are looking at, because it is this kind of responsible tourism model which has taken Kerala to where they are now. And it is this, the fact, the recognition that the community were equal stakeholders in the tourism and the growth of the state, which brought them together in this crisis hour, and which made them work for the reconstruction of the state, and they were a key player in bringing back Kerala to normalcy after this huge natural calamity which they had to face. So this is another thing. I think we need to focus on new products, new destinations, innovation, making it more experiential, homestays, and innovation when I talk of. And I fully agree again with Nakul that you people fail to keep pace with the changing times. You have to innovate, you have to come up with new ways of marketing. Technology plays now a key role in deciding as to where we should go, you know. So that innovation and the aggregators like Airbnb, Make My Trip, etc. have to be brought in within the fold of IATO, and I must confess that I am a little disappointed to see that those kind of new players are not part of this convention. I think they should have been here. One of them should have been a fellow panelist here. When we talk about additional 10 million, they are certainly a key player if we have to reach that number, you know. And we have to take them along. We have to learn from their experiences, you know. So, and then thirdly, I feel when we talk of the competitive aspect, we also have to look at long-term gains. Most of the industry is looking only at short-term gains. I must say that again, when we talk of competitiveness in the Southeast Asia region or South Asia region, it's a fact that our taxes are much higher than what they do. But this has been a fact which we have been living with. It's not that GST has changed. In fact, GST has completely changed the scenario by bringing down the tax on the hotel rooms from 22-23% to 18%. And if we add the input tax credit which the hotels can claim, it further brings it down to about 17%. This is the average rate now which the hotels are charging. Only a very minuscule hotel rooms which are above 7,500 and also charge 1,500 because GST is now on actual tariff and not on the rack rate. I think only they have a slightly higher rate. Otherwise, for all hoteliers, the GST has brought down the tax rate considerably, that is 5 to 6%. But have the rates come down? Have the room rates come down in our country? No, not even a single example has come to my notice where this benefit of reduced tax rate has been passed on to the consumers. I feel that in the short run, you may gain more by keeping this additional profit in your pockets. But in the long run, we will be big losers in the tourism sector. This gain which is coming to you from a reduction in the tax rate should be passed on to the consumers, and we should become more competitive vis-a-vis our neighboring countries. Buddhist tourism is another area I think we need. It's a very low-hanging fruit. We have about 500 million tourists, million people in the world who are Buddhist, and only 0.005% of that is traveling to India. If we were to only remove 1 zero from the right side, that's enough to get us huge numbers, you know. And how do we do that? We have to have a targeted strategy, and we have to get tailor-made products for people coming from countries like Myanmar, etc. While the connectivity has certainly improved as far as Nakul said, from Thailand, but recently when I had a Buddhist roadshow in countries like Myanmar, Vietnam, etc., Cambodia and Thailand, we find that there are still no direct flights from Vietnam to India or from Myanmar to India or from Cambodia to India. There are some in the offing, but there are still no such flights. They all have to travel to Bangkok to catch a flight to India, which means additional cost, which means additional time. So this is something which we need to focus on. We need to work with the civil aviation, we need to work with the airlines to have direct connections from our possible Buddhist markets, because they come in large numbers, they come in large groups, and if we are able to tap this additional numbers, we will certainly be very easily reaching the 20 million. Again, they look for their own food, they look for guides who speak their language, and they have their comfort zone in the places where they stay. So we have to together work, and the industry has to take the lead. We have to take the lead in training language guides and language facilitators, and industry has to take the lead for creating the right kind of environment with them, having the right kind of chefs, right kind of cuisine for them, because they want to eat their own food when they visit these places like Bodh Gaya, etc. So these are things which we need to work on. It's very doable, but we have to work together. We have to have a more proactive industry taking leadership. Government and the state governments have to work as facilitators. We have to moderate and change as per the needs of the industry, as per the demands of the tourism growing challenges, etc. And that I assure you that we'll try to keep pace with all of you. And again, one good news I would like to share with you is that apart from the fact that our budgetary allocation has increased this year for the first time, we have crossed the 2,000 crores marks, and it is now we are getting more money for marketing, etc. We also have a scheme called Champion Sector schemes being promoted by Government of India. 5,000 crores has been approved by the Cabinet for promotion of the Champion Sector, that is the service sector. And tourism obviously is a key service sector because it creates the maximum number of jobs. Government is focusing hugely on that. The Ministry of Commerce is moderating that, and we have already sent 7-8 very innovative proposals to be taken up under this Champion Sector scheme, and we are very hopeful that we will be able to get about 700 to 1,000 additional crores for taking up innovative schemes. We are bound by the guidelines when we look at our budgeted schemes, but we can be innovative here, and we have even thought of schemes. We have given proposals for underwriting the certain seats in some of our key routes, coming from Buddhist countries or within the country also. Some of the tourist destinations where we do not have enough connectivity, we have given a scheme where we will be underwriting the seats, and we will encourage this way the airlines to start new flights for these destinations. Many other things like giving incentive to the tour operators and having a very aggressive marketing for the Buddhist countries and the neighboring countries. All these are part of some of the schemes which we have proposed to Ministry of Commerce, and we are very hopeful. In fact, I would be very happy. We did consult the industry, and the captains of industry, whatever input we got from them, we have incorporated in our proposal. But it's an ongoing process. It's a changing world. We will be very happy to keep getting such inputs from you as to what we can ask from the government from under this Champion Sector approach which the Government of India has adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. That was really a wonderful overview of where the journey will take us. But ma'am, I want to still question you a little bit, with your permission. Is that, our global competitive index dropped from 64 to 44 on the back of a out-of-the-box idea of the e-visa. That has been a huge contributor to that. And I think we need a series of out-of-the-box ideas in order to grow this journey, unless we're able to do that. So for example, we've spoken of China here. There is literally no air connectivity. You mentioned about literally no air connectivity with Vietnam, with Myanmar. Do you think we could, for example, have an open sky policy with China? Because at the end of the day, we don't have the capacity as the national carriers to go out there enough, but maybe there's enough Chinese airlines that will come. And the minute the Chinese have enough stake in the game, they will not close those doors because they have their own infrastructure to service. So similarly, cannot the Udan scheme, for example, be used also for the regional travel to Myanmar and things like that, because it will also be politically a very good tool to be able to show an outreach into Southeast Asia and as well as bring in tourists from those areas. So I think what the industry is looking for from you is really some out-of-the-box ideas to put some wind beneath our wings, man. And I slightly beg to differ with you that the industry needs at a macro level. The industry is willing to put money. The industry has entrepreneurship. The industry has demonstrated that so far, whatever the growth we have shown or we have built is in the back of. We're not a state-led tourism industry. We're a private sector-led industry, and we have achieved that. But when you have to buy land, when you don't know about your permissions in the state of Goa, how do you build infrastructure? Today, we know that in the Andamans and Nicobar, the government has done an amazing development. Just for everybody's information, roughly 100 sites are being opened up at Andaman Lakshadweep, and I can vision that 10 years down the line, we will be another Maldives out there, if not more. But what is the government doing there? The government is giving land. The government is giving guaranteed permissions, is giving a 99-year lease, and all you have to do is to quote a percentage of the top line. Now, cannot the state governments do something like that? Because ultimately, land belongs to the states. We need to build infrastructure. Nakul, I tend to disagree with you that we have enough rooms out there. I believe we need many, many more rooms. We are underserviced as a hotel industry in this country. We need to have competitive rooms out there. So really, at the end of the day, it's innovation that we need. Now, before I open the floor to questions, would any of the panelists like to make any last closing comment based on what we've heard and based on whatever we spoke?
On that connectivity issue which you talked of and taking Udan to service the regional connectivity, Arjun, I would say that the concept of Udan is totally different. If you were to have the full form of Udan, it is Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik. So the concept is totally different. You are subsidizing the travel for the Aam Nagrik, that the common man, so that it becomes within reach of the common man. Our concept is totally different. We do not want to subsidize it. We want better connectivity for our tourist destinations. We want better connectivity from the markets which we see as the potential markets for getting those numbers. Here, that is why, when you talked about our innovative scheme, that is why under our champion sector proposal, we have gone to Ministry of Commerce asking for corpus so that we can use that corpus money to underwrite seats, to start flights, say, from Myanmar to India, from Vietnam to India, from China to India, and any such destination within the country also which we feel are not only not serviced but under-serviced also. For instance, some of our very iconic destinations like Khajuraho, we can't say it's not serviced, there are flights, but it is usually under-serviced. And unless we have better connectivity for such sites, we cannot hope to get numbers there, So therefore, this innovative proposal which we have given and which we are very, very optimistic about getting it through and getting an additional fund over and above our budgetary allocation as a corpus for underwriting these seats. I think it's only the beginning where we will have to give this kind of financial support. Within 6 months, all these flights will become viable because we know that that is what is stopping them from coming to India, the direct connectivity. And once they look at India as a destination, numbers would come. We have a lot of Indians traveling to these destinations, so it's going to be a two-way traffic, and therefore no question of not becoming a viable thing. About open sky policy, we already have an open sky policy, Arjun. It's not that we are not encouraging other airlines to come here. We have airlines coming here. We have some international airlines who are bringing flights here from various parts of the world. And China Airlines already is flying to India. And we are very, very open to getting more flights from China. And I'm sure as soon as they look at India as a big destination, there will be larger players coming in this area. So there's no issue on that at all. And as regards the land policy, I think many of the states have come up with land lease policy, etc. I think industry needs to make use of that. Go and invest in those areas. The problem is that you are looking at destinations like Goa, where maybe you may not be having a very liberal policy because already there is a lot of congestion there. But new emerging destinations, new emerging states who are giving a lot of focus to tourism have come up with very pro-industry, pro-private sector investment policies and land lease policies. I think the industry needs to look at them.
Perfect, thank you. So one last comment, everybody. Nakul, you want to start? Just anything, any last comment based on this? I'll give you 30 seconds.
No, Arjun, sorry, I said something, you disagreed with me, I tend to disagree with you again.
Not a problem.
Hotel capacity, and I just again, as I said, the proof of the pudding is in eating it. Never, if hotel capacity was sufficient and hotels were doing very well, I mean, if it wasn't sufficient, hotels were doing very well, you wouldn't have seen as many bankruptcies and distressed assets in the hotel business as you've seen in the last 5 years.
Well, you invite me to an HEI conference and I'll have a debate with you on that subject, on what went wrong there, but certainly, Najib.
Arjun, I'm very glad that Madam has been explaining all the efforts which Government of India is taking forward. We appreciate that. But if you are looking for large numbers, I still maintain that we need to think out of the box actions from government side. Private industry, what Kerala has been doing it for the last 25 years. Private life, we have done a lot of things. We drive it. Our government is with us in all the activities. Here, if you want the numbers, I strongly feel that MICE has to happen. If the MICE has to happen, you need large complexes of MICE. That's the only way. We should actually bid for Olympics. We should bid for large sports activities. Here, we should bring a large number of entertainment programs.
Under the champion sector also.
Super.
And this was deliberated and CAPSEC was also of the opinion that yes, we can start this with few selected countries.
Outstanding idea, ma'am.
Arjun, only a minute left. So,
Yeah, so I'm going to take 5 minutes more, ma'am. I'm going to cross over. Where is Lally next? Oh, sorry, Deepak Bhatnagar. I apologize.
Hello, good morning everyone. I'm Deepak Bhatnagar from Mantra Travels. Ma'am, in my 32 years experience of incoming tourism, in last 5 or 6 years, what we are encountering when we are going and meeting our foreign tour operators, the biggest challenge for them is getting an international flight tickets to India. All of them are getting, especially from new emerging market in Central East Europe, which are smaller markets but has a high potential. And a lot of them are under the e-visa. They have no direct connectivity to India.
Okay. So your question is connectivity and accessibility from new markets.
So I've already touched upon that issue that we are thinking of a scheme which will encourage more and more international players to come up and start better connectivity, more airlines coming into the forum.
Okay, Lally, can I get you next, please? Amrish, I'll come next to you. And I'll come there. Please make it a short question and we'll deal with the answer here.
I'm Lali Matthews. My question is directed to Secretary Rashmiji. Ma'am, we have the news that most of the overseas offices are closing. And now that the general consensus is that the numbers are going to come from the Asian countries, do you plan to open more offices in these Asian countries? Thank you.
It's not true that we are closing the offices. We are restructuring our overseas office marketing strategy. We are now setting up 8 major hubs where we will have senior officers manning those offices, which will be looking after many markets within that hub. And we will be taking the help of ITMRs and PR agencies for each of these markets. We will be having a professional PR agency being engaged by our office there to do the marketing. I think this was the demand of the industry for a long time, that we should not leave marketing in the hands of some demotivated officers. Rather, we should have professional agencies looking at it.
Amrish.
My name is Amrish Tiwari, I'm General Secretary ICPB. Agree with that as the 42% of tourists now coming for even leisure from the MICE segment. My 2 questions are, one, as you said, the private partners during the events. Other than 2-3 states like Kerala, Rajasthan, all these states are almost doing the trade show, their own shows. And most of them are managed very badly. when the tour operator goes back, so they bring a very negative news other than few states which are doing good. So my question is that there is no control on that. And second part, my question is that we all go every year marketing overseas, do the marketing, but lots of people sitting at home in unorganized sector, they do the business and most of the complaints come from this unorganized sector and government has no policy over that.
Okay, perfect. Some compliance, sir.
I'm glad he raised this issue because it gives me an opportunity to reply to the very passionate speech made by Najib, It's easy to talk about things, it's easy to talk about partnership in a state, in a small state, where you have the government on board, where you can control the policies. At the national level, when we are dealing with 29 states and UTs, it's not so easy. Each state has their own priority, own focus, own policy. And bringing them together on one platform and the kind of partnership which is required, the kind of leadership which is required at the macro and the national level, bringing them, because states are the key players. They are the owners of land, they are the facilitators, all the tourist destinations are within their jurisdiction. They are the ones who manage the police. If we have to talk of the big challenge in security, and which has become a big hurdle in our country. And I think there is a separate session on that, so I'm not going to talk about it. These are things which are in the hands of the state government. When we talk of Agra, Taj Mahal is there, but the issue which comes to our mind is about the towns. What is the state government doing to control that menace, So these are things for which we have to engage with the state governments. We have to engage with our sister ministries for many of the issues which are going to affect the growth in the tourism sector. It's not so easy, not so simplistic as the Kerala model. So you have to keep this in mind, and given the fact that we have been doing some out-of-the-box thinking, I think that much credit you will have to give us, that we have been doing some out-of-the-box thinking. I think more initiative also has to come from the industry.
Last question, Dr. Gondal.
Yogesh Gondal, World of Travel and
So
Tourism.
move the microphone closer.
Yogesh Gondal, World of Travel and Tourism magazine. Mr. Ashwin Arora, you've given a very comprehensive presentation on the present scenario. But you said something which is a little revealing and also a little disturbing, at least as far as I am concerned. While China is a great, big, huge market, the whole world is targeting. The fact is that our relationship with China has been a little uncertain and may continue to be uncertain. In that situation, while China is a great market, let us not, I think if we overemphasize and become over-dependent on China, it may not be a very good thing. We still have to probably go back to our long haul, because those are the real well-playing markets, especially Europe. America is really long haul, but Europe is not that far away. I don't know whether it would be a good idea to overemphasize China, because it is that.
I fully agree that we can't put all our eggs in one basket. We cannot depend only on China. China is one strategy which it has to be part of our strategy. But as you said, it is dependent on many factors which are not within our control. But when we are talking of short haul, we are not talking only of China. Southeast Asian countries, South Asian countries, West Asia, Dubai, etc. So it is this market we are talking of. That doesn't mean that we neglect our traditional long haul markets like US and Europe. We continue to focus on them.
Madam, just 1 second, just one point. This illegal activities in Kerala.
Well,
So that just for information.
Okay, so I will now close this session. I would sincerely recommend to the IOTO leadership to have a follow-up session in an active members meeting with Secretary Mrs. Verma. We know that she is always available. The leadership of the Ministry of Tourism is always available to us to question, to absorb, to understand. I need to close this session. Thank you very much to my fellow panelists for a very invigorating discussion.